Hello, curious friend. Tonight we journey beneath the quiet waves to a place deeper than Mount Everest is tall, a hidden world of silence, pressure, and mystery. Fewer people have seen its floor than have walked on the moon. This is the Mariana Trench, the last great frontier on Earth. It is a place so deep, so secret, that it feels almost unreal. It is a trench in the ocean floor, a scar in the Earth's crust that runs for more than 1,500 miles. The Mariana Trench is not just deep, it is the deepest part of the ocean known to us. At its greatest depth, a point called the Challenger Deep, the ocean floor sinks down to nearly 11,000 meters, or about 36,000 feet. To understand how deep this is, imagine taking Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on Earth, and placing it inside the trench. The peak of Everest would still be more than a mile underwater. This place is darker than midnight, colder than ice, and under pressure so strong it could crush steel. Yet, life exists here. Strange and fragile, glowing and ghostly, life has found a way to survive in conditions that seem impossible. For scientists, explorers, and dreamers, the Mariana Trench is a natural wonder. It is not just a physical location. It is a symbol of mystery, a reminder that even on our own planet, there are places we hardly understand. While we look up to the stars and dream of distant planets, there is still a world of unknowns right beneath our oceans. Imagine for a moment, drifting on a small boat above the Pacific, the sky wide and endless, the sun bright and warm. Beneath you is water so deep that no light can reach the bottom. You are floating above an alien world that almost no human has ever seen. The silence of the waves hides secrets of crushing depths, glowing creatures, and ancient forces. The Mariana Trench pulls at our curiosity because it is both familiar and alien. It is part of Earth, yet it feels like another planet, and it reminds us of how little we know about our own home. In this journey, we will sink slowly into the abyss, step by step. We will begin at the surface, where sunlight still dances in the waves, and descend through the layers of the ocean until we reach the black silence of the Challenger Deep. Along the way, we will meet creatures that defy imagination, explore the forces that shape this trench, and reflect on the ways it connects us to the greater mysteries of life itself. But before we descend, pause for a moment, take a slow breath, picture the vast ocean stretching endlessly around you. The surface looks calm, but beneath is a world almost untouched, where pressure, darkness, and time create an environment like nowhere else on Earth. The question rises, what secrets still wait in the silence of the trench? If these relaxing stories spark your curiosity or help you rest, don't forget to subscribe and be part of our nightly journeys. You can also leave a comment below. It's a simple way of helping other curious minds find this space too. Now, let us begin our dive. The surface of the Pacific Ocean is wide and calm. Sunlight shimmers on gentle waves. From above, it looks endless and flat, a giant mirror of the sky. But beneath this bright surface, another world waits. A world of layers, each one darker, colder, and more mysterious than the last. To understand the Mariana Trench, we must first understand this slow descent into the ocean. Every few hundred meters, the sea changes, almost like walking from one planet into another. Let us drift down together, sinking gently below the waves. The first layer is called the sunlit zone, or the epipelagic zone. Here, sunlight still shines through the water. The ocean is bright, full of color and movement. Fish dart through schools, corals bloom, and plankton drift. This is the part of the sea we know best, the world of snorkeling, diving, and coastal exploration. It stretches down to about 200 meters. That may not sound deep, but already the weight of the water above begins to press down. The pressure here is twice what you feel on land. It is still safe, still familiar, but the journey is only just beginning. Imagine drifting in this clear blue space. Rays of sunlight reach down in golden streams. The water is warm, and life feels abundant. Yet, if you look down into the darker blue below, you sense the unknown waiting. It is an endless pull into silence. Below 200 meters, we enter the twilight zone, or mesopelagic zone. Sunlight begins to fade. The colors around you shift from blue to gray. The water cools, shapes become shadows. Here, strange creatures begin to appear. Some have enormous eyes, built to catch the last traces of light. Others create their own light, soft flashes, and glowing spots on their bodies. This glow, called bioluminescence, is one of the most magical sights of the deep. Picture small sparks floating in the water around you, like fireflies in the night sky. The twilight zone is quiet. Few people have ever seen it with their own eyes. The pressure is heavy now, about 20 times greater than on the surface. Yet life has adapted. Lanternfish, squid, and deep-sea jellyfish drift in slow movements, conserving energy. Pause for a moment. Picture yourself here, suspended in cool, dim water, surrounded by silent, glowing lights. The surface feels far away now. You are between two worlds, the familiar above and the unknown below. As we drift deeper, at about 1,000 meters, we pass into the midnight zone, or bathypelagic zone. Here, no sunlight reaches at all. It is total darkness. The only light comes from the creatures themselves. The pressure is now 100 times greater than at the surface. If you were here without protection, it would crush you instantly. Yet animals survive. Some are transparent, almost invisible. Others have glowing lures to trick prey. Strange mouths and sharp teeth appear in this silent blackness, though these creatures are not monsters. They are survivors, shaped by an environment so extreme we can barely imagine it. The water is near freezing. The silence is deep, broken only by the slow movement of currents. Imagine floating here, where time feels frozen, and the world is made of shadows and faint lights. Few submarines have reached this far, but the trench continues, much deeper still. Below 4,000 meters, we enter the abyss, or abyssopelagic zone. The name itself suggests endlessness. Here, life becomes rare, scattered across the deep. Creatures are pale, slow, and fragile. The ocean floor stretches far below, but still, we have not reached the trench's depths. The pressure here is 400 times greater than on land. The temperature hovers just above freezing. The water feels ancient, heavy with silence. Scientists say that more than 75% of the ocean floor lies in this abyss. It is Earth's hidden landscape, unseen and unmapped. Mountain ranges, valleys, and plains spread across the bottom, yet covered in complete darkness. Envision, just for a while, drifting through this black emptiness, your body carried by slow, cold currents. It feels endless, but something even deeper waits below. At last, we approach the Mariana Trench itself. It is not just a deep hole in the ocean floor. It is a massive scar, a place where two of Earth's tectonic plates meet. The Pacific Plate slides beneath the Mariana Plate, creating a vast canyon in the seabed. The trench is more than 1,500 miles long and about 45 miles wide in places. Its walls are steep, and its depths seem bottomless. This is where Earth bends under its own forces, where geology and water meet in silence. As we float near the rim of the trench, the darkness feels heavier, almost alive. The drop beneath us is unimaginable. To descend into the trench is to leave behind everything familiar about the sea. It is to step into another world. Think for a moment about how little of this world we have seen. More people have walked on the moon than have visited the deepest part of the ocean. Submarines that explore here must be built stronger than spacecraft, able to withstand pressure so intense that steel can bend and crack. Why do we look into the trench? Because it holds secrets. It hides creatures, processes, and histories that we do not yet understand. The ocean floor here is like a locked archive, full of stories of Earth's past. As we drift near the trench's edge, the mind fills with questions. What lies beneath? What forms of life live in the deepest black? What forces shape this world? The answers call us downward, deeper still. We began at the surface, where sunlight danced on gentle waves. We sank through layers of fading light, through the twilight and midnight zones, into the abyss, where darkness reigns. Now, standing at the edge of the Mariana Trench, we face the greatest descent of all. Imagine leaning forward, peering into that vast black chasm. You feel the silence pull at you, inviting you into its depths. What waits below is more extreme, more mysterious, and more fascinating than anything we have yet seen. Now, let's drift deeper into the crushing truth of pressure and the extraordinary challenge of survival at the bottom of the sea. Envision, for a moment, standing at the bottom of a swimming pool. You feel the weight of the water pressing against your chest and ears. Now imagine diving even deeper, 10 meters down, 20 meters, 30 meters. The pressure grows heavier with every meter. That simple feeling of weight, multiplied 1,000 times, begins to explain what happens in the Mariana Trench. On the surface, where we live, we experience the pressure of the atmosphere above us. This is called one atmosphere of pressure, or one atmosphere. Our bodies are adapted to it perfectly. But water is far denser than air. For every 10 meters you descend into the sea, another atmosphere of pressure is added. At just 100 meters, you feel 10 times the pressure of the surface. At 1,000 meters, you feel 100 times the pressure. Now, think of Challenger Deep, nearly 11,000 meters beneath the surface. The pressure there is more than 1,000 times greater than what we feel at sea level. That is the equivalent of placing the weight of 50 jumbo jets on your body. It is not just heavy, it is crushing, it is absolute. Without protection, no human could survive here. Even steel submarines groan and bend under such pressure. The deeper you go, the more dangerous each meter becomes. Divers who explore shallow waters sometimes face a condition called the bends, or decompression sickness. When they rise too quickly, their bodies are sensitive to pressure changes, even after only a few meters. Now imagine the leap from the surface to 11,000 meters. It is like traveling to another world. That is why only a handful of people have ever reached Challenger Deep. More humans have stood on the surface of the moon than have seen this part of Earth with their own eyes. To explore these depths, engineers have built vessels like spacecraft spheres of titanium and thick steel, shaped to resist the crushing force. The first was the Trieste, a deep-diving bathyscaphe built in the 1,950 seconds. In 1960, it carried two men, Jacques Picard and Don Walsh, to the bottom of Challenger Deep. Their journey took nearly 5 hours of silent descent. Inside their small cabin, They listened to the creaks and groans of the vessel as the pressure pushed against the walls. At one point, they heard a loud crack. A viewing window had fractured. Still, they continued. Finally, they touched the bottom, the deepest place on Earth ever reached by humankind. Since then, only a few missions have returned. In 2012, filmmaker James Cameron piloted a one-man submersible to the trench's floor, spending hours exploring its silence. And, in recent years, new expeditions have followed, each one revealing more about this hidden world. But the challenge remains immense. Every piece of equipment, every bolt, every joint must be perfect. A single weakness, a single crack, could mean destruction in seconds. Perhaps the most amazing fact is not that machines can survive here, but that life itself has adapted. At depths beyond imagination, tiny organisms and strange creatures endure crushing forces with ease. How do they do it? Their bodies are soft, flexible, and filled with water. Instead of resisting pressure, they allow it. They are not crushed, because they are already part of the deep. Scientists have found amphipods, small shrimp-like animals, living more than 10 kilometers down. They have delicate bodies, yet they move and feed as if the pressure is nothing. Special molecules in their cells protect their proteins and allow them to function under stress that would destroy most life. This resilience is not only fascinating, but also inspiring. It shows us that life finds a way, even in conditions we once thought impossible. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself inside a small vessel sinking slowly toward the trench floor. The walls groan softly, the light is gone, the water outside presses with 1,000 atmospheres. You are wrapped in silence, deeper than any silence you have ever known. Your body feels safe inside the sphere, but you know that beyond its shell, the ocean is waiting with endless weight. It is not just a physical pressure, it is also an emotional one. The sense of being far, far from the surface, in a world that does not belong to humans. Scientists study organisms from the trench, not only to understand them, but also to learn from them. The molecules that help deep-sea animals resist pressure might inspire new medicines or industrial materials. The way their enzymes function at high stress could reveal secrets about resilience itself. The deep is not just a curiosity, it is a library of solutions, written in the language of evolution. As we reflect on the unimaginable pressure of the trench, a new question arises. Where does this descent end? Where is the very bottom? That place is called Challenger Deep, the deepest known point on Earth. It is more than a location, it is a symbol of mystery and human courage. Few have ever reached it, and each time, it feels like touching another planet. Try to see it in your mind for a moment, drifting past the rim of the trench, following its steep walls down into shadow. The weight increases, but you continue. Finally, after hours of descent, you reach the bottom. You are standing, in a way, at the lowest point of our planet. What is it like there? What lives in this black, crushing stillness? What secrets are buried in its sediments? These questions lead us deeper still toward Challenger Deep, the heart of the trench and the ultimate abyss of Earth. From the surface, pressure is invisible. We do not feel it as we breathe and live each day. But in the depths of the ocean, pressure rules everything. It shapes the machines we build, the creatures that survive, and the very limits of human exploration. The deeper we go, the heavier the silence becomes. Yet we continue, pulled by curiosity, toward the deepest point of all the Challenger Deep. Now let's descend further to meet the ocean's ultimate abyss. The Mariana Trench is vast, stretching across the floor of the Pacific for more than 1,500 miles. But within this immense scar lies a point that is deeper than any other place on Earth. A point where the ocean floor sinks to nearly 11,000 meters below sea level. This place is called Challenger Deep. It is not just a number on a chart, not just a measurement. Challenger Deep is a symbol. It is the lowest known place on the surface of our planet, the farthest distance from the world of air and light above. To reach it is to touch the edge of what is possible. The name Challenger Deep comes from a ship, HMS Challenger, a British vessel that sailed in the 1,870 on the first great scientific voyage of the oceans. It was this expedition that first measured the trench with weighted lines, discovering depths far beyond expectation. Though the technology then could not truly reach the bottom, the Challenger expedition revealed the trench's existence and gave it a name. For more than a century, that name has inspired explorers, scientists, and dreamers. To understand just how deep Challenger Deep is, think about the tallest mountain on Earth, Mount Everest. It rises 8,848 meters above sea level. Now, flip that mountain upside down and lower it into Challenger Deep. Its peak would still be covered by more than 2,000 meters of water. That extra depth is taller than most mountains on Earth. It is difficult even to picture. Standing at the rim of the trench, looking down, is like gazing into a world without end. In 1960, two men, Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh, made the first descent into Challenger Deep aboard the bathyscaphe Trieste. Their vessel was shaped like a sphere, built to resist pressure stronger than anything humans had ever faced. The descent took nearly 5 hours. The water outside grew darker and heavier with every passing minute. Inside the small cabin, the men felt the groans of the vessel as pressure pressed against its walls. At one point, a window cracked, sending a shudder through the ship. But they continued downward. Finally, they reached the bottom. The depth measured nearly 10,916 meters. They had touched the deepest point known to humankind. Through their small viewing port, they saw the soft, muddy floor of the trench. And then, to their surprise, they saw life's small, flat fish moving slowly in the sediment. Their visit lasted only 20 minutes. But it proved something extraordinary. Even at the deepest point on Earth, life exists. More than 50 years later, in 2012, filmmaker and explorer James Cameron returned to Challenger Deep in a one-man submersible called the Deep Sea Challenger. His dive was faster but equally dangerous. He descended alone, carried by a vessel engineered to survive impossible pressure. At the bottom, he spent nearly 3 hours exploring, filming, and collecting samples. Cameron described the bottom as a flat, alien plane. The sediments were fine and soft, shaped by eons of settling particles. Strange creatures drifted by shrimp-like amphipods and delicate worms. The silence was total. He later said it felt like another planet. Since Cameron's dive, other expeditions have followed. Robotic submersibles and manned vessels have returned to Challenger Deep, each time revealing new details. Scientists have collected samples of mud and microorganisms. They have measured the chemistry of the water, studied the geology of the trench, and mapped the floor with sonar. And still, so much remains unknown. Each visit, each handful of sediment, reveals life forms never seen before. Bacteria, microbes, and strange single-celled giants called xenophyrophores. What kind of life can survive here? The conditions are extreme. Temperatures hover near freezing. Sunlight never reaches this depth. The pressure is more than 1,000 times that of the surface. Yet in the mud and water of Challenger Deep, life persists. Microbes feed on chemicals that seep from the Earth's crust. Amphipods scavenge for food particles that drift down from above. Giant single-celled organisms live in the sediment, some larger than a grain of sand. These creatures are fragile but perfectly adapted. Their proteins are shaped to resist pressure. Their cell membranes remain fluid in the cold. Their bodies bend with the water instead of breaking against it. They remind us that life does not just survive where it is comfortable. Life reaches into every corner, every extreme, every silence. Yet even here, at the farthest point from human reach, our presence is felt. In samples collected from Challenger Deep, scientists have found plastic fibers and toxic chemicals carried down through the ocean currents. It is a startling discovery, proof that no part of our planet is untouched. Even the deepest trench holds signs of our activity. This truth is both sobering and powerful. It shows how deeply connected the ocean is and how fragile its mysteries can be. Imagine again drifting down into Challenger Deep. Hours of descent bring you into a silent, lightless world. The walls of the trench rise around you, steep and shadowed. The water presses with unimaginable weight. Finally, you settle on the soft floor in the deepest place on Earth. What do you feel? Awe, perhaps, smallness, a sense of being at the edge of something beyond comprehension. Few people will ever know this experience, and yet it belongs to all of us as a part of our planet. Challenger Deep is not just a destination. It is a reminder that Earth still holds secrets waiting in silence. But Challenger Deep is not empty. It is home. In its darkness and pressure, life has found ways to exist. What kinds of creatures live here? How do they glow, survive, and feed in a place without light? The trench floor may look barren at first glance, but it hides a world of alien beauty. Creatures with glowing bodies, delicate shapes, and strange designs drift through the black water. And so, as we leave the silence of Challenger Deep, we begin to meet its inhabitants, the creatures of the abyss. Challenger Deep is Earth's ultimate depth, the lowest place known to humankind. It is a point of danger, silence, and awe. From the first descent in 1960 to modern expeditions, it has remained a frontier one that few have touched, and even fewer have understood. And yet, even here, life endures. Now let us drift onward to meet the strange and glowing creatures that call this abyss their. The ocean is like a world stacked in layers. At the top, there is sunlight and warmth. Deeper down, there is twilight, fading slowly into shadow. But here, we have crossed into the midnight zone. This is a place where the sun does not exist. No light can reach this far. The water around us is completely black. If you were here without a lamp, you would see nothing, not even your own hand. The silence is endless, the cold is constant, and the pressure unimaginable. Yet, in this dark world, there is life. Not only life, but life that glows, life that drifts, hunts, and survives in ways that are so strange they almost feel like dreams. This is the home of the creatures of eternal night. Think of it this way: you are a fish, drifting in this darkness. You cannot see the sunday, you cannot see plants, you cannot rely on photosynthesis, because no light reaches you. Here, food is rare, and every meal could be your last. So how do creatures survive? Many depend on what scientists call marine snow. This is a slow, constant rain of tiny particles falling from above. It is made of dead plankton, bits of decaying animals, and organic dust drifting down from the upper layers of the sea. To us, it may sound unappealing, but in the midnight zone, it is life itself. Other creatures wait for the fall of something larger, a dead fish, a jelly, or even the great body of a whale sinking down into the abyss. These rare meals can feed whole communities for years. But perhaps the most fascinating survival tool is bioluminescence, the ability to make light in the darkness. The midnight zone is filled with creatures that glow. Small flashes, sudden sparks, or slow blue pulses drift like stars in the water. These are not lights made by the sun or the moon. They are created by life itself. Bioluminescence is a natural chemical reaction. Inside the body of many deep-sea animals, special molecules react to produce light. Some creatures have glowing organs. Others carry bacteria that shine for them. The result is a soft, cold glow that pierces the black water. Why would animals glow here? The answers are many. Some use light to attract prey, like a lure in the darkness. Some use it to communicate, sending signals to others of their kind. Some use it for camouflage, shining just enough to match faint starlight from the surface, blending into the water above. And some use it to confuse enemies, flashing suddenly to startle or blind predators. It is strange to imagine, but here, in this endless night, light becomes a tool of survival. One of the most famous residents of this zone is the anglerfish. It is a small, often ugly fish with a mouth full of sharp teeth. But what makes it special is the glowing lure that hangs from its head. The anglerfish dangles this light like bait, waiting in the dark. Curious prey see the glow and swim closer, mistaking it for food or safety. And then, snap, the anglerfish strikes. But perhaps even stranger is its way of reproduction. In some species, the male is tiny compared to the female. When he finds her, he bites into her body and fuses with her, becoming a permanent part of her body. He loses his eyes, his fins, even his own organs. He lives only to provide sperm, while the female carries him for the rest of her life. It sounds like something from science fiction, yet it is real. A way of survival that evolved in the harshest place on Earth. Another ghost of the midnight zone is the vampire squid. Despite its name, it does not drink blood. It is small, soft-bodied, and almost fragile. Its skin is dark red, and its arms are webbed together like a cloak. What makes it remarkable is its survival strategy. It does not chase prey like a hunter. Instead, it feeds on marine snow. Using long, sticky threads, it gathers tiny falling particles from the water. In a place where food is scarce, it has learned to live gently, drifting and collecting what the ocean provides. When threatened, the vampire squid does not fight. Instead, it turns itself inside out, wrapping its arms over its body and flashing glowing lights to confuse predators. In the silence of the abyss, sometimes the best defense is simply to vanish into the dark. The midnight zone is filled with more wonders. Hatchetfish, with flat, silver bodies that shimmer like coins, using light on their bellies to disappear from sight. Dragonfish, with long, slender bodies and jaws filled with fangs, able to produce red light that most other creatures cannot see. They hunt invisibly, glowing in a color their prey cannot detect. Jellyfish, drifting like floating lanterns, their bodies glowing in waves of color. Some can make their entire form flash, a signal of beauty and warning combined. Shrimp and crustaceans, many transparent, some glowing, some releasing bursts of light into the water, like a sudden underwater firework. Each creature is adapted in ways that seem impossible. Each one tells a story of survival in a world where sunlight never arrives. It is easy to imagine the midnight zone as frightening, endless blackness, sharp teeth, glowing monsters. But if you pause and look more closely, it becomes something else. Imagine drifting in this darkness, surrounded by sparks of blue light, small glowing dots rising and falling, flashes that appear and vanish. It is like floating through a night sky full of stars. Here, in the deepest night, the ocean becomes its own universe. Creatures are like constellations. Their lights, their shapes, their movements, they create a secret beauty we rarely see. And this beauty is not random. It is survival written in light. Every glow, every flicker, every flash has a purpose: to hunt, to hide, to live. So we drift, watching these living stars. They are strange, fragile, and full of mystery. Some we know, many we do not. Scientists believe that most of the deep ocean's creatures are still undiscovered. Every expedition finds new forms, new lights, new secrets. And it makes us wonder, what else is out there hiding in this endless night? For now, we can only drift further down, past the midnight zone, deeper still, into a world even harsher, even stranger, where life becomes rarer and the ocean itself begins to shape the planet. Let us continue our journey, sinking into the abyssal zone. For millions of years, the Mariana Trench has been untouched, a place of silence, darkness, and mystery. A place beyond storms, beyond human sight, beyond the reach of ordinary life. And yet, even here, in the deepest wilderness on Earth, we find a shadow. Not the shadow of a creature, not the shadow of the trench itself, but the shadow of humanity. Imagine drifting slowly in the pitch-black water of the Challenger Deep. The pressure here is more than 1,000 times that at the surface. The cold is just above freezing. It feels impossible that anything made by humans could reach this place. And yet, in 2018, scientists sent a submersible down into this hidden world. As cameras scanned the seafloor, they found something shocking. Not a rare fish, not a glowing jelly, but a plastic bag. Yes, a bag like the ones we use to carry groceries, torn and wrinkled, yet still recognizable. It lay quietly on the seafloor, a silent reminder that even here, at the bottom of the ocean, human activity has left its mark. This discovery stunned researchers. The Mariana Trench is nearly 11 kilometers deep, and yet plastic waste has somehow found its way here. How? The ocean itself carried it. Currents that swirl across the planet pulled floating plastic downwards. Over time, it drifted lower and lower until it settled in the deepest place on Earth. It was a heartbreaking moment to see a piece of everyday human life so ordinary, so disposable, lying in a place that should be timeless and untouched. But the story of pollution here is not only about what we can see, it is also about what we cannot. Scientists who studied amphipods, small shrimp-like creatures living in the trench, made a disturbing discovery. Inside, their bodies were toxic chemicals, specifically substances known as PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls. These chemicals were once used in paints, coolants, and plastics. Though banned decades ago, they are so stable that they do not break down easily. Instead, they drift through water, settle into sediment, and enter the food chain. The amphipods had levels of PCBs higher than those found in some of the most polluted rivers on Earth. Think about that for a moment. A tiny creature living in darkness miles beneath the ocean, carrying the toxic fingerprint of human industry. It shows us something powerful. No place is truly untouched. Even the most remote wilderness is linked to us. The trench should be a place of wonder, a cathedral of nature, a reminder of how small we are compared to the planet. But when plastic bags and toxic chemicals appear here, that wonder becomes mixed with sadness. There is a contrast so sharp, it almost feels poetic. The anglerfish, glowing in eternal night, and a floating bag beside it. The slow fall of marine snow and microplastic particles raining down with it. The silence of an untouched world, carrying the faint echo of human waste. The Mariana Trench, once imagined as a pristine and unreachable place, is now a mirror. It reflects back the truth of our time. Our influence stretches farther than we realize. Why does this matter? After all, the trench is not a place most people will ever see. It matters because it shows how fragile balance is. The deep ocean is not just a mystery. It is part of Earth's living system. Its creatures recycle nutrients, store carbon, and support the health of the planet. When we harm this system, even in small ways, the effects ripple outward. The bag on the seafloor may seem like nothing, but it represents millions of other pieces drifting in the ocean, breaking into smaller particles, becoming part of the food web. And the chemicals in the amphipods? They remind us that pollution does not stay where it is made. It travels, it sinks, it spreads, until it reaches the deepest life on Earth. Picture yourself standing on the deck of a ship above the trench. The waves crash gently, the horizon is wide, the sky endless. You might feel small, like your choices cannot possibly touch this vast ocean. But the truth is different. Every plastic wrapper, every bag, every discarded bottle has a journey. Some are recycled, some are burned, but too many drift into rivers, then seas, then oceans. And some eventually find their way here into the heart of the Earth itself. It makes us ask, if our shadow falls even here, what responsibility do we carry? Yet the story does not end in despair. Just as bioluminescence lights the midnight zone, there are glimmers of hope. Scientists and explorers are not only discovering pollution, they are also inspiring change. Submersible dives have raised awareness around the world. Images of plastic in the trench shocked people into action. Nations are beginning to ban single-use plastics. New technologies aim to clean up ocean waste. And perhaps most importantly, the trench reminds us of what is at stake, not just beauty, but survival. The creatures here live in balance, fragile but enduring. Their light, their silence, their existence is a gift. Protecting them is protecting ourselves. So let us pause here, in the deepest place touched by human hands. A plastic bag resting, where only strange fish should drift. A tiny amphipod carrying the memory of industry. The trench teaches us that we are never truly separate from nature. Every choice, every action, every shadow travels farther than we think. And it makes us wonder, if even the deepest sea carries our mark, then where can we look to find true wilderness? Perhaps the answer lies not in leaving Earth, but in learning to live gently upon it. As we drift forward, let us rise out of this sadness, carrying with us both the warning and the hope. For beyond the shadow of human touch, the trench still holds secrets untouched. Ancient secrets, waiting in silence. Now, let us continue our descent toward the very bottom of the world. The ocean is often called silent, but in truth, it is not. Beneath the waves, sound travels farther than light. Whales call across entire oceans, cracking ice echoes like thunder. Even tiny creatures make clicks and snaps that, together, become an underwater chorus. And in the deepest place of all, the Mariana Trench, there are voices too, strange sounds recorded in the darkness, sounds that we still do not fully understand. Imagine lowering a microphone, called a hydrophone, into the black waters of the trench. The pressure crushes around it, the cold wraps it, and then suddenly you hear something. Not silence, but booming, rumbling, moaning. Some sounds are sharp and short. Others stretch out like long sighs from the earth itself. In 2016, researchers lowered hydrophones into the trench for a full month. What they recorded was astonishing. They heard the songs of whales traveling thousands of miles. They caught the rumbles of distant earthquakes, carried through the water like deep drums. They heard the echoes of typhoons, storms raging far above, their energy pushing sound into the abyss. But among these familiar noises, there were also mysteries. One of the most puzzling sounds captured was nicknamed the Western Pacific biotwang. It lasts about 3 seconds. It begins with a low metallic moan, rises into a strange twang like a laser from a science fiction movie, and then fades away. Scientists believe it may come from a type of baleen whale, perhaps a minke whale. Yet the sound is unlike any whale call recorded before. It repeats both day and night, suggesting it may not be a song at all, but something else. Navigation, feeding, communication we do not yet understand. Hearing it in the recordings is eerie. Visualize sitting in darkness, and suddenly, through the headphones, a long electronic-sounding twang rises and falls. It feels almost alien. There are also booming sounds, deep, thunder-like rumbles that seem to come from beneath the seafloor. Some may be the result of small earthquakes, as tectonic plates shift and grind in the trench. Others may come from underwater landslides, where sediment suddenly tumbles into the abyss. But some booms remain unexplained. They echo strangely, as if bouncing through hidden chambers in the Earth's crust. Are they purely geological, or something else moving in the dark? The ocean does not answer. It only gives the sound, and then silence. When we listen to these voices, a thought arises. If we hear sounds we cannot explain, what makes them? Could it be creatures we have never seen? Giants drifting in the blackness, communicating in frequencies too low for us to detect clearly? Or geological phenomena we still do not understand, the earth itself groaning in its deepest scars? It is here that science meets imagination. The trench is so vast, so unexplored, that both answers remain possible. We know so little that even the strangest ideas cannot yet be ruled out. And so the trench whispers to us through sound, a coded message in rumbles, moans, and twangs, reminding us that discovery is not only about what we see, but also about what we hear. What is perhaps most fascinating is that the trench is not empty. Even though it seems like a lifeless void, it is alive with echoes. Whales sing, earth quakes, storms shout, creatures click and snap. All of it mixes into a hidden symphony, one that humans rarely hear. Imagine drifting there, surrounded by absolute darkness. Suddenly, the water vibrates with a deep, rolling sound. You cannot see its source. You cannot tell if it comes from above, below, or beside you. You only feel it passing through your body like a wave. It is a reminder that sound is the heartbeat of the deep. And the trench has many heartbeats, each carrying secrets. So the recordings continue. Hydrophones are lowered, data is collected, and still new mysteries emerge. Each strange call leaves behind a question. If the ocean floor can hold a plastic bag, it can also hide creatures we have not yet imagined. Could some of these voices belong to them? Could we already be hearing life forms that science has never seen? Or perhaps we are hearing the planet itself, the slow breathing of Earth, rising from its deepest wound. Either way, these sounds remind us of something profound. The Mariana Trench is not silent. It is speaking, and we are only just beginning to listen. So let us drift here a little longer, in the dark, surrounded by whispers. A twang in the distance, a boom from below, a sigh that may be a whale, or perhaps something else. The voices of the deep leave us with wonder, but also with connection, because they echo another mystery, the one above us. For the deep sea, in many ways, is like outer space. Both are cold, both are dark, both are largely unknown, and in both we listen for signals, hoping to find life. Which leads us to a thought: if life can exist here, in this crushing dark, might it also exist out there, in the icy oceans of other worlds? Let us rise gently from these voices and turn our gaze outward from the trench to the stars. The Mariana Trench is often called Earth's final frontier, but in many ways it is also a mirror of something greater, our search for life beyond our planet. When we look up at the night sky, we wonder about distant stars, about strange new worlds, about oceans hidden beneath alien ice. And yet, right here on Earth, beneath our own waves, we already have a place that feels otherworldly. The trench reminds us that the boundary between Earth and space is not so wide after all. Far above us, orbiting in the cold reaches of our solar system, are moons wrapped in ice. Europa, circling Jupiter, Enceladus, circling Saturn. Beneath their frozen crusts, scientists believe, lie vast, salty oceans, dark, deep, and perhaps full of secrets. What would such oceans be like? They would be cold. They would be lightless. They would be under incredible pressure. In other words, they would be very much like the Mariana Trench. When we study life in the trench shrimp glowing in darkness, fish with antifreeze proteins in their blood, microbes that live on chemicals instead of sunlight, we are not just studying our own world. We are building clues for other worlds. If life can survive here, why not there? Scientists call such survivors extremophiles, life forms that can endure conditions that would kill most others. In the trench, extremophiles live without sunlight. They rely on chemical energy, feeding on hydrogen, methane, or sulfur released from rocks and vents. Some bacteria survive in complete darkness, multiplying slowly over thousands of years. These are not just strange curiosities. They are guides. They tell us that life does not always need warmth and sunlight. Life can adapt to cold, to pressure, to silence. So, when we look at Europa or Enceladus, with their hidden oceans and possible hydrothermal vents at the seafloor, we carry the trench in our minds. We imagine extremophiles there too, perhaps glowing, perhaps drifting, perhaps waiting to be found. It is almost poetic. The deepest point on Earth and the farthest oceans in space may share the same secret. Life hidden in darkness. Life thriving against the odds. When a submersible descends into the Mariana Trench, it feels like a spacecraft landing on another world. The silence, the alien creatures, the unknown ahead. The similarity is striking. And perhaps that is why the trench fascinates us so deeply. It is not only a journey inward, but also a rehearsal for journeys outward. Think of how we listen to the deep sea with hydrophones, straining to catch voices in the dark. Now, think of how we listen to the sky with radio telescopes, straining to catch signals from the stars. Both are acts of patience, both are acts of hope, and in both, we are searching for the same thing, proof that we are not alone. In the trench, we find strange fish, glowing bacteria, and whispers of sound. In space, we find exoplanets, icy moons, and signals carried by light. Together, they remind us that the universe is alive with possibility. So, the trench speaks to us in a quiet way. It says, look closer, look deeper. Do not assume life is rare. Do not assume it needs what you need. And this raises the great question. If life can survive in the crushing dark of Earth's deepest trench, why not in the oceans of Europa? Why not in the seas beneath Enceladus? Why not in places we have not even dreamed of yet? The trench becomes more than a place. It becomes a message, a reminder that life is strong, surprising, and endlessly adaptable. Let your mind wander to a spacecraft landing on Europa, drilling through miles of ice, sending a probe into the black ocean below. The camera switches on, and what does it see? Perhaps nothing. Perhaps only rock and silence. Or perhaps a flicker, a glow, a drifting shape moving slowly in the water. If such a moment ever comes, it will not feel completely alien, because we will remember the trench, we will remember the glowing fish, the drifting jellies, the microbes feeding on stone. We will remember that Earth taught us to expect the unexpected. So as we drift here, between the trench and the stars, we feel a bridge. The deepest place below us and the farthest worlds above us are connected by one question. Where else can life exist? And yet, while we dream of Europa, while we imagine Enceladus, there is a truth we must face. We have not even finished exploring our own ocean. Fewer than a dozen people have seen Challenger Deep with their own eyes. More people have walked on the moon. We dream of Mars, and yet the alien world we seek may already lie at the bottom of our own sea. And so, with this thought, let us drift into the next part of our journey, the trench, as our final frontier beneath us. We often speak of the final frontier as space, the moon, Mars, the faraway stars. But before we cross the galaxy, there is another frontier waiting beneath our feet. The Mariana Trench. Silent, cold, darker than night. It is a place that feels like another planet, yet it lies on our own world. Think of this. More than 600 people have traveled to space. 12 have walked on the moon. But fewer than a dozen have visited Challenger Deep, the very bottom of the trench. It is strange to realize we know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the deepest place on Earth. We have mapped distant planets with great detail, yet our own ocean floor remains a mystery. Why have so few gone there? Because the trench is unforgiving. The pressure is like a mountain pressing down on you, multiplied 1,000 times. The cold steals away heat, the darkness swallows every light. To visit the trench requires more than bravery. It requires machines that can withstand crushing force. It requires patience, precision, and a willingness to face the unknown. This is why so few journeys have been made. Each descent is a victory. Each return is a story. Think of the astronauts walking on the moon, their boots pressing into grey dust, their eyes gazing at Earth hanging in the sky. Now think of the divers sinking into Challenger Deep, their submersible creaking, their lights cutting through the black water, their eyes gazing at a world no sunlight has touched. Both are acts of exploration. Both are steps into the unknown. And in many ways, the trench is harder. It does not welcome us. It does not even let us in easily. It is as though the earth itself guards its secret place. When we speak of aliens, we imagine distant planets, strange skies, unknown landscapes. But perhaps the greatest alien world is here on Earth. The trench is unlike any other place on our planet. Its creatures glow and twist in forms we barely understand. Its geology speaks in rumbles and quakes, telling stories of fire beneath the sea. It is a place both earthly and otherworldly, familiar yet foreign. To enter it is to leave behind the known world. Even with modern technology, the trench is still mostly unmapped. We know its outline, but not its heart. We have seen fragments, but not the whole. There could be mountains taller than Everest hidden in the dark. There could be valleys deeper than we imagine. There could be creatures we have not yet dreamed of. And perhaps that is the most humbling thought. We search the universe for the unknown, but here, at home, the unknown still waits. What does the trench teach us? That Earth is not finished. That mystery is not gone. That wonder does not always lie far away. It reminds us to look inward as well as outward, to explore what is near as much as what is far. The trench whispers that the spirit of exploration is not only about distance, it is about depth. Picture yourself within a submersible, drifting down. The light above fades, the walls of water close in. The only sound is the hum of the machine, the crackle of pressure outside. You sink deeper. The numbers rise 5,000 meters, 7,000, 9,000. The trench pulls you into its heart. At last, the bottom. The light sweeps across a barren, alien plain. The silence is complete. And in that silence, you feel it the sense that you are standing on another world. So, the trench remains our final frontier beneath us. It is the shadow of space, the ocean's secret, the Earth's deepest breath. And as we explore, we remember, it is not only the stars that hold mystery, it is also the sea. The trench teaches us that discovery is not always upward. Sometimes it is downward, sometimes it is hidden, sometimes it is waiting, silent in the dark. And so, as we rise from the depths, we return to where we began, with wonder, with mystery, with the knowledge that the world still holds secrets. The Mariana Trench is not simply a crack in the ocean floor. It is a frontier, a reminder, a question. And as we prepare to close this journey, let us step gently into the final thoughts, that the mystery remains. We began with a question. What lies at the edge of our world? What secrets wait in the silence of the deep? We have drifted down through the waters of the Mariana Trench. We have seen the descent into darkness. We have felt the weight of pressure that could crush steel. We have touched Challenger Deep, the very bottom of the ocean. We have met strange creatures, glowing softly in the night. We have discovered human shadows, plastic and poison in a place untouched by light. We have listened to the voices of the deep, the booming and rumbling that speak of mysteries not yet solved. We have compared the trench to the stars, to faraway moons, to the search for life beyond Earth. And we have seen how this hidden abyss is, perhaps, the final frontier beneath us. The Mariana Trench is not just a crack in the ocean floor. It is a reminder that Earth is still wild, that it still holds secrets. That mystery has not left our planet, it waits in the shadows. It shows us that even in an age of satellites and maps, of science and data, there are still places untouched, places that make us wonder, places that make us feel small and yet connected. So, as you close your eyes tonight, imagine that silent trench. Imagine drifting downward, deeper and deeper, until no sunlight follows. Think of the stillness, the quiet, the vastness of a world unseen. And remember this: our planet still holds mysteries as great as the stars. Sometimes, the greatest alien world is our own. The trench does not answer every question. It does not reveal every secret. It waits, silent, patient, eternal. And perhaps that is the most powerful truth of all. The Mariana Trench is not just the deepest place on Earth. It is the voice of mystery itself. It whispers to us, softly, beneath the waves. The mystery remains. Good night.